Good afternoon, everybody. Stephanie Brown here from Intelligent Construction Opportunities. I appreciate all those that are interested in hopping on this Thursday at noon Eastern Standard Time and wherever else you are in the world. By all means, for those of you that want to comment, let us know that you're here and perhaps why BIM is a something for you and VDC and all that we're going to get into today. Would appreciate all and any comments. I'm, as I said, Stephanie Brown from Intelligent Construction Opportunities. And what Intelligent Construction Opportunities is all about is trying to bridge the gap between construction professionals and the technology that they need. One of the things that Intelligent Construction Opportunities helps people to do is to source and implement their technologies. So I'm really happy on that note to introduce our guest today, Vinay Levaka, and he is the owner and founder of XD Build. And as you can see on our screen, the prime area that he works in is BIM. But what we're going to do today is go through a couple of use cases and what does this actually look like in terms of the implementation and the story we tell around using these particular BIM related processes and technologies. So welcome, Vinay.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie, for the introduction.
Indeed. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you are, and what made you get into this particular line of technology?
Sure. I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So I have been in this virtual construction industry for more than a decade. So I started my career as an mechanical engineer, like designing laminar flow systems, and then slowly found my way into Revit and virtual design field. And since then, I have been in this field, doing virtual models, building things virtually. So after immigrating to Canada, I found myself a job with mechanical contractors and found out that that's my niche area where I can provide value to this industry. So since then, I have been working with the mechanical contractors, providing VDC solutions and bridging the gap between field and the design teams.
Very good. So you're in the specific side of mechanical. So what kinds of job roles are you working with, Vinay, because of that specialty?
I work with project managers. I work with site supervisors. I work with site foremen to make sure whatever the designs that we generate would be implemented on site. In like whatever we build in the systems would actually replicate the site conditions.
Okay, so they're your major and prime audience. Can you provide them? We've got a number of people that registered that certainly fit that profile. Can you provide us with an overview of BIM and VDC and the laser scanning and the prefab and how you
Sure.
sort of pull all of that together for the client?
Sure, definitely. Uh, Virtual construction industry is no is familiar to everyone in the construction industry. It's like building things, designing things in a 3D way. So where BIM comes is like it needs to have certain information, portion of it in the model. So in an actual 3D model, in a CAD model, uh, even though it's a 3D, it's just a line is a line. But in BIM world, there are no lines. It's either like pipes or ducts or something with the material properties in it. So we include all this data in detail in the 3D models to make it a BIM model.
And so
So
how did
it's
who create, like on your side, on XD's side, where do you meet the creation?
so we build the 3D models based on the 2D drawings or the consultant's drawings. So we build the 3D models for the mechanical and the electrical trade contractors.
So the first step is laser scanning, correct?
Yeah, so our prime focus is on the renovations. Laser scanning comes handy to capture the as-built conditions.
And you
So
told me when we first started talking that you said over 60% of projects.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Like suppose if we take the building life cycle, so it's the building stays for like almost like 40 years or 50 years. So in this 50 years, the building goes through a renovation of major renovations for like every 10 years. So it means that a new building is constructed like only one-sixth of the time, and most of the time like it's a renovation. Five by sixth of the times it's a renovations that happens in these buildings. So in renovations, the one major thing obstacle is that like capturing the as built conditions, uh, because like what's on the paper is not like what goes on site most of the times.
Mm-hmm.
So, capturing the real-time conditions would help us gather the right information. So, reality capture is the only as-built model that we can rely upon.
Okay, so how does the laser scanning process work? Can you sort of take us through? I know we've got some visuals here that we can sort of look at it so our audience can, sort of
Sure,
see what this looks like.
sure,
Uh,
definitely.
so if we
Uh,
can do that, so I want you to explain the laser scanning process and who is it helping as you're showing us your visuals.
so laser scanning can be used across the fields like architects, structural engineers. This can be uh, used for verification purposes, not just in the renovation spaces, even for the new constructions. Once like we build the prefab modulars, we can scan this and like verify it to the model, and then like make sure like everything is as per the model. So there are multiple use cases for the reality scanning. Like this is being used in the heavy infrastructure for the bridges and all. So especially coming to my use case, this is used for mechanical renovation of an hospital building. So
Mm-hmm.
especially the this is the use case that I have worked on, and this is what I'm showing you. So this is an hospital space, hospital mechanical room. So this renovation, like there is an like 50% increase of the chilled water capacity. So the equipment grew to like 30% more in the same space. The problem is to keep the other systems intact while making this renovation.
Can you show us the
Yeah.
chill room diagram that you have?
Yes, yes. So this is the as-built condition of the mechanical room. When we go into the chill rooms, so this is how complex and uh, this is how the existing chill rooms look like.
Yeah,
So
that's
all this,
a lot of
all these points that you see are the existing elements, the as-built elements, which are demolished and created like a new model, like where things needs to go. And these all tie-ins to the existing systems. So it really comes handy when we tie into the new existing pipes. So we will know like where we need to break the pipe, and where when the shutdown needs to happen and how long the shutdown needs to happen. We can face the shutdowns. We can plan the demolition. In this case, we have broken down this piping over here and then put a flange over here. And then we have blinded it off for the next stage. And then we ran the system. It took us like less than 6 hours of shutdown for
less
this
than six
entire
hours
thing.
of shutdown. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. In the
It,
traditional methods, it would be like an day or 2 day kind of a shutdown. But with use of laser scanning and going to a detail like with BIM modeling, we reduce the shutdown periods to 6 hours.
So if it was shut down for 6 hours, so let us understand where and how does the prefabrication piece fit into that 6 hour shutdown?
So we have this prefabricated piece made up before uh, in the offsite, and then we ship it to site, and then we cut this piece and like attach the prefabricated element over there and bolt it up. So that reduces the amount of time that takes to weld things and like plan things, layout things, and all.
And so, can we sort of talk about what is the help in terms of managing the full project? So the benefits of using the BIM, the VDC, the prefab, and the laser scanning. What is that helping in terms of actual cost estimate for both the project owner as well as
Yeah.
the project manager managing those costs?
Sure. Coming to the project owner, once once we have the entire system in place for the model, like where the shutdowns are going to happen, there is less disruption to the services. So keep mindful that these are like existing buildings with the existing people or the patients or like existing services.
For
So
sure.
when there is like less disruption, so that's what owner wants. And on the cost side of things, so there is like an extreme benefit in taking these welding uh, offsite rather than onsite. So when we do weld onsite, the productivity is labor is like very less compared to the offsite welding because of the ergonomic conditions placed in the shop compared to the not so ergonomic positions and not so safe positions on site.
So give us an example in your diagram, like you showed earlier, the
Yeah, yeah,
complexity of this particular chill room and,
yeah,
all the pipes. If you can imagine, if you were,
yeah,
a mechanical
yeah,
a welder, right?
yeah,
You're in your, I mean, so
yeah.
how do you determine what portion of this project becomes prefabricated versus what might be having to be done on site?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Coming to this portion, so this is like 12 feet above from the air, from the floor level.
Mhm.
So welding these joints on site would need like safety harnesses, like and we need to stuck into the narrow spaces, constricted spaces to make these welds. Sometimes it's most of the times it's very hard to make these wells like stick wells on site. So we do kind of prefabricate everything on over there, and the only pieces that we would like to keep it to site are the equipment connections. So whenever there are equipments, there is like a high chance of equipment being not delivered in the same size or the connections being in the wrong positions. So just like the equipment over here. So we have a chilled water connection over here. So there is like a high probability of error over here connecting to the equipments. So what we do is like we leave an field cut piece over here and over here so that like we have that wiggle room to make the changes on site.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so as you're making these decisions about what's on site versus what's off site, who are you having these particular conversations with, Vinay?
It's mostly site supervisors or site foremen that make these decisions.
Okay.
So they approve these decisions. They give us insights into like how they would like to build and what are the obstacles that they face on site, because they are the hands-on people. They would know more about like their issues, like their troubles, like how things happen on the welding side of things and on site installation side of things.
Can you give us some examples? So that's very good. So that's where I was going to
Yeah,
kind of go with this is
yeah,
what are those challenges Like it can't just be so, cut and dry that you've got a great
Yeah,
model, everything's
yeah,
prefabricated, it all works together.
yeah. Yeah.
What are some of the downsides?
First, suppose we just mentioned that there is like an field cut piece in the vertical portion of it, right?
Hmm.
So it's hard to. One of the site supervisors mentioned that when I like try to minimize the field cuts in the vertical portions, because that's a place that we cannot take our wells and do the welding. So rather than what they would do is like they would keep it down on the floor and like cut it up to the measure and then like weld the flange over there and stick it up rather than doing the vertical welds. So it's always easier to do the horizontal welds rather than the vertical welds.
Okay.
That's yeah. These are the kind of insights that we would be getting from site people.
And so, in terms of costs, because everybody's
Yeah,
looking at their money,
yeah.
can you sort of give us a range of what these type of services would cost
Yeah.
and the kinds of cost savings as a result of using BIM and VDC and laser scanning and certainly the prefab?
Mhm.
What are the cost savings,
Yeah.
and why, how is this translating to money?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Like coming to the cost savings, so we are taking 80% of the on-site weld to prefabrication shops, and that so it the prefabrication weld takes like only one third of cost compared to the on-site welding, based on the figures that I got feedback from the site. So it only costs like one third to weld the offsite compared to the weld onsite. Taking the labor hours, taking the like the amount of time taken to do the welds, and shipping and logistics.
Okay, so this leads me to my next area, I would imagine there's an increased safety
Yeah.
uh, issue that this is also helping to solve for.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that factor and you know how that plays out?
Yeah, sure. Like once we have like all the prefabrication and the spool drawing set up, we know like how much of what's the weight of that spool piece, and we know what's going in the spool piece. Like so, we can adjust our weights. Like we can get the lifts, proper lifts. We can plan the installation accordingly so that there is an increase in the safety factor, and we are not working at heights to weld, or like we are not working at heights for a longer time, so it would help the safety of the people, and we are not working in some weird situations, in an hazardous situations.
Hmm.
So it also helps in improving the safety on site.
So give us an idea. How heavy is, like, even the shortest vertical or horizontal pipe?
So this project, like we have the pipes of most of the pipes are of 16 inches. These are like large bore pipes. So this one over here, so this is like a giant spool piece starting from here to connecting to the chiller. So anyways, we are dealing with like a few 100 pounds.
A few 100 pounds just for one
Yeah, yeah,
part.
yeah, just for one part.
Okay. So again, helpful, and you're talking about the lack of heights and the
Yeah, yeah,
sustainment of
yeah.
the of having
We
to be up.
yeah, we also have like 32-inch bore pipes in this space. So the headers are 32-inch. So we also have advantage of not welding in very restricted spaces with very restricted access. So all this pipe is like 32-inch,
Mm-hmm.
this header. So this entire header with all the flanges is prefab. So there is no welding that's done on site on this header.
I'm curious, what's the difference in the colors? What does the green mean versus the blue versus the red?
It's just like to differentiate the systems, we have kept some nominal colors. Uh, just like supply, condenser supply has like one color, condenser return has like one color, and chilled water supply has one color, and the chilled water return has another color.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, of course, that makes sense.
for
You'd have
for
to.
for the visualization.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, in terms of who, like, are you strictly working with hospitals, or where would these kinds of applications work outside of
Uh,
hospitals?
No, we have worked on all sorts of commercial renovations. We have worked on provincial buildings. We have worked on data centers. So one project that I would like to show is this one is an data center.
Yeah.
So this is a data center chilled water facility. So this is of the same use case. The chiller room is getting renovated. The chiller system is getting renovated. So we have to use the existing space for this renovation. So we did the laser scanning, and we took that laser scannings into the Revit model, and then we started working. We started coordinating with the existing elements, and then adding those into the model, and then making sure we don't clash with the existing elements. And if we get to clash with the existing elements, we need to plan the shutdown and renovation of the existing elements too.
And as far as the prefabrication is concerned, at what point are you working with that team? Are you choosing that team? Are they external to XD Build, or how does that work with your particular situation?
They are external to XT Build. Usually, the trade contractor chooses the prefabrication team. Most of the times, trade contractors have their own shop, their own team for the prefabrication, and there are sometimes it's being outsourced to the fabrication shops. There are dedicated fabrication shops like who do this welding.
So I want to sort of switch a little bit then to um, so there's outside, there's there's disparate pieces that
Yeah.
bring obviously what the client needs and wants. But where do you see the future trends of BIM and VDC, laser scanning and prefab? Is there anything that you think, particularly where AI is today, how it
Yeah.
can bring a closeness together with all these pieces?
Definitely, like these days, AI models have been like so getting so intelligent, so that like they can identify the elements in the laser scan, and converting the laser scans from the scan models to the as-built models, which are easier to work upon, and the productivity of the design team increases. So
Okay.
that's one area of improvement using the AI. And another area is like there are few tools which are still in the research phases, which are capable of doing the designs and providing the alternatives for the design, like which one would be the efficient way to run a piping network or a ducting network. So
Are
those
you
are
working with
still.
those tools in the preliminary to train the data? How is that data being inputted and found and obviously correlated?
Uh, we are not building any softwares in XBuild right now. So these companies use the data from the laser scans, uh, and then like feed them the data into the AI models so that they can be used regeneratively.
And are they still in the testing phase? Because I would imagine in these instances, particularly when you're talking about hospitals and shutting down for 6 hours at a time and so on, the level of accuracy just has to be
Yeah, yeah.
perfect,
So
correct?
we try to keep our tolerances less than 5 mils. So that's our tolerance for the error, 5 millimeters or 3 millimeters. So if we go out like more than 3 to 5 millimeters, like then we can't make that same spool piece work. It won't like land flange to flange.
Okay. All right. And so how many projects does XD Build like to take on at a time?
So we have our resources offshore. So we take on like 2 to 3 projects at a time,
Okay.
and we are growing and we are scaling these operations. We are training our teams. So we definitely have the aptitude to take on more jobs. We are still in the testing phases. So not many trade contractors are using technologies in the renovation spaces. So we are trying to push it.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So you are in the Calgary, the province of Calgary in Canada.
Uh,
Do you want to expand yourself to, say, Vancouver or the other Western provinces?
yeah, definitely. We So since the our work is virtual, and the design team's work is virtual, but we tend to have like an on-site representation. So we have our in-house on-site representations, the BIM coordinators. They go to sites like every week or so, and they communicate with the site team. They take the feedback. They change the designs as per the times site team's feedback. So they navigate through the models. So we don't just sit in the offices and just leave it for the site team to figure out and navigate the models. We go to site and we help the site teams navigate the BIM arenas.
So speaking of your employees, so what kind of experience do you like them to have to work with XD?
So definitely experience on Revit, and we have laser scanning technicians, and in-house laser scanners. And we are also including total stations into our workflows. So what total stations would do is like they position the pipe accurately. To know the exact positions on the site, we need total stations. So that's where the total station team comes in. So we have all kinds of technology adapters in XTBuild. So the first thing that I would look at hiring a new employees is like how good they are at learning new things. So
Mhm.
it's not what they know. It's about like how much they can learn. So what's their aptitude to learn more?
Okay. And so on the construction professional side, what kind of experience do they need to understand about construction? Because where I find a lot of gap is between, yes, the technologist and the people that understand how BIM models work and they can
Yeah.
build and they can code and so on. But there's a disconnect in the context of the construction. How do you make sure that that is there?
Uh, yeah, with our on-site representation on site, so people would constantly keep learning about like how things happen on site. So it's not just about the technology part of it; it's also about like how technology is being implemented on site. So how models are being built on site with the same level of accuracy that we built in the model.
What would you say to a construction professional that maybe wanted to change from being supposed in the field as a
Yeah.
mechanic, somebody that's
Mhm.
actually doing TIG welds and the things that are physical
Yeah.
in these particular restorations? What would you
Yeah.
say to them if they wanted to move over to the BIM side of things?
Definitely, like they are the right people to hire because they already have like 50% of experience, like what needs to be done. They just needs to be trained on the tools.
Just need to be trained
So
on the tools.
yeah, tool part of it and the technology part of it is easier compared to learning the nuances on site.
Well, that's a very strong
Yeah.
statement. That's a very strong statement, Vinay. So just for the audience, just because I know that we do have people, construction professionals, that certainly are potentially watching right now. If you were going to tell them or share with them how they might get started, what would your suggestion be?
So like start from where what a model does. Like what's the use of a model? What's the use case of a BIM and the BIM model? So that's like a healthy start. And then we need to know about like what kind of contracts we are in and what's expected from the design team, and how detailed the model needs to be actually useful on the site. So that's the 3 points that I would start from. And then Revit is a great tool to start with. So on the tool side of things, Revit, I would suggest starting with Revit.
Okay. Well, I think that's really really good information. So I'm also getting the idea that you work very closely with the designers.
Yeah.
So from the design perspective, is there a particular way that you like to work with the designer? At what point do you start talking about the restoration? Is that from the get go?
Yeah, from the get-go, like our starting process looks like we take the as-built conditions, laser scan of the as-built conditions. We take the IFC drawings and all the input. We start reviewing the schematics. We start reviewing the fittings. We start reviewing all the shop drawings and the catalogs. We make sure that the Revit families, the fittings and the elements that we use in Revit are too accurate to the physical conditions on site. And so this is where like we involve the designers to make sure that every fitting and the every element that we use in Revit is to the site conditions. And then we start building things based on the laser scanning. So from this point, like there would be like a constant communication between the on-site representation and the design team and the site team. So there is a constant communication. It's not like an one part completes the work and other part takeovers. It's like they need to work together cohesively to make sure that whatever the model that's being generated would be accurate enough to be installed on site.
Okay. All right. Well, I think you've left, some nice nuggets behind in terms of describing this particular process. And as far as where people can reach you, I put that up here that they can contact you at your first name, last name with a dot in the middle at xbuild.com, or otherwise they can check you out on LinkedIn.
Yes,
Correct?
yes, correct.
And if anybody has any questions about intelligent construction opportunities, we help source, select, and implement your technology. And of course, you can email us at info@intelops.com for further information on that. And with that, I want to thank you very much, Vinay, for sharing your models with us. I think it's really important to keep contextualizing how people do what they do with technology. It's, we throw these words around, but to really understand how they're used and what the purpose is. As I always say, it's a tool. It's the right tool for the right
Yeah,
job.
yeah. It's most of the people come to me and say like, where do we start with the prefabrication? It's not about like what software that you use. It's about like how you are using it. Like know the right use case. So we just used Revit and like an normal Victolic tool. Sometimes if the spools are like too heavy, then we go into like exploring other avenues in the softwares like SysQ, Evolve MEP and all. we can start with almost like zero investment, apart from the already existing investment on the BIM team.
So just speaking off of that a little bit, I just have a question that occurred to me, and that was, is it mostly a repair situation that sort of identifies the restoration, or how have you seen that particular story played out, particularly with this kind of a job?
No, no, it's not just for the restoration and the repairs. Uh, it's like a complete renovation. So it's as good as like a new model or a new building. So even though like we are also working on some new buildings like University of Calgary Veterinary Learning Center and all. We have also worked on Glenbow Museum. We have worked on like a lot more new spaces. It's the similar use cases, but on the renovation side of things, things get more complicated with the existing elements.
Okay, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah,
Again,
yeah.
it stuck in my head this idea of the 6-hour shutdown. All right, so I think we're going to call it. And again, I thank you very much, Vinay, and the audience. Stay tuned. You can obviously watch the recording, and we will be in touch.
Yeah.
Again, Stephanie Brown from Intelligent Construction Opportunities. I want to thank Vinay again from XD Build,
Thank you.
and we're out.